Hello, you wonderful struggler. What's up? It's Ryan. This is our Plog. The monthly Plog is here where I'm going to be talking about my training, nutrition tactics, mental game, my goals achieved, and my goals missed. The usual monthly format, but I want to welcome all listeners to this Plog because I'm going to publish this one out there for free for everybody. Usually, it's always for free, but usually it's just for Patreon supporters and Apple subscribers, because I keep it as a little bit of a perk. But I'm going to send this one out into the ether, into the audio sphere, if you will, for everybody, because it's my birth month. This is my birthday month. And so this is a birthday plog. And why not make it available? Why not make my musings and wanderings available for everyone? I hope you're having an awesome day. I'm recording this right now, June 1st. It's Monday. Let's frickin' go. Let's win this week. And my birthday's on the 5th of June. Shout out to all the summer birthdays out there, and especially to all the parents who planned or didn't plan to have births in the summer, because it's kind of awesome. I say this because my wife and I did not think this through, but my son was born 4 days after Christmas, and so then he just kind of gets a raw deal. Shout out to you all out there who have birthdays around the holidays, because it's a little tougher. All the cool stuff happens within like a week, and then you got to go a whole year. But for me, good memories. June, always the end of the school year, popsicles, getting bikes and unicycles and skateboards. Yeah, you heard me, unicycles. I guess not unicycles, unicycle. That's a little fun fact about Ryan, your host of the Struggle Climbing Show, is I can ride a unicycle. One day I was like, I want a unicycle. My parents got me a unicycle because they're awesome. And then I learned how to ride a unicycle. Nobody's learning how to ride unicycles this day. They're just all on TikTok and YouTube. Here's me just barking at the wind. Not enough unicyclists out there. Anyway, shout out to the unicyclists out there. Where was I? I digress. Let's dive in. Let's get into our plog here because there's a lot to talk about. Kind of closing out the spring season, looking at summer training, and I'm really diving head first into an endurance-focused block that I'm really excited about. But it all starts with me opening up the Intentional Climber app, which I'm so excited to say is out there and now getting a ton of downloads, which is so cool. I'm getting great feedback and also really helpful feedback because, it's a new app. So there's going to be some bugs and there's going to be features that people want maybe added or just have ideas. And so yeah, quietly launched it on Patreon and Apple for people who are already supporting the show. And the founding 100, the first 100 users, have been providing a lot of feedback. So thank you all for that feedback. But now it's out there for everyone. So you can go to Google Play or the App Store, download Intentional Climber. You can get it for free for 2 weeks and just dive in, poke around, explore those features. I'm not intending this to be an ad for Intentional Climber, but here we are. Let me just tell you a little bit about it because it's been in the works for over a year with fellow Patreon member Jeff Ash, who's a developer and a climber, a coach. He knows a lot about all of this stuff. And so we've been working on this together for a long time. And I used it to help me send Bulldog. And so it's really the tool, like the main tool that I used to help me program my training, reflect on my training and my projecting, journal about it, and attach beta videos and all of that, set goals, and then ultimately achieve my goal of sending V8. And so Intentional Climber just was by my side through that entire process, and it was just awesome. I just loved the experience of it. This is kind of like an earlier version of it, and now it's even better because we've got meditations in there from Hazel Finlay. We've got coaching plans in there from Colin McGee and Chris Hampton, and some really exciting ones coming. And then like all the other things for busy climbers to help program their training, but not just program their training. That's basically table stakes out there. There's a bunch of apps out there where you can like program a hangboard routine or whatever. That's not what Intentional Climber is all about. Intentional Climber is about helping us busy climbers to understand what's working and what's not, and to help us be more consistent with our training. I feel like motivation isn't really the issue. Like we're all pretty motivated to be better climbers, but consistency and awareness of what's working, I feel like, is the kind of secret sauce, if you will, what will help us to break through plateaus and just get more joy out of our climbing. And so there's a lot of emphasis in Intentional Climber about reflection and journaling and goal setting. And that ultimately is what will help us bust through to the next level. So anyway, I hope you check out Intentional Climber. Oh, I'll give you a little thing, a little secret kind of unpublished deal here. If you download Intentional Climber and then enter code Launch Crew while you're downloading it, you still get it to try it for free for 2 weeks. But then you also will get a discount and you'll unlock a free training program, 2 free training programs. In fact, one from Colin McGee and one from Chris Hampton. So that's like $300 of training programs where you just like hit a button and it'll just schedule out on your calendar all of the workouts to get stronger fingers or a stronger body, work on core tension, whatever it is that you want to put an emphasis on. So anyway, all that's in there on Intentional Climber. And here we are 3 minutes into the plog. That's all I've talked about. Sorry, guys. I'm really excited about it. And legitimately, like it has really helped me to get more out of my climbing and my training. So I hope you check it out. So I'm opening my Intentional Climber app right now to look at my goals. And that's how we start our plog. Start our plog with looking at my May goals. And I had 3 goals in May. My first goal was to get outside and climb 3 days. My second goal was to send a 12A or 12B outside. And my third goal was to stick to my endurance plan. So where did we shake out here in May, Ryan? 3 days outside, check. Ooh, just under the wire too. I just got my last, or my third, if you will, day outside just a couple days ago on May 30th, was it? May 29th? Anyway, just a couple days ago. It was amazing. Went out with my daughter and some friends. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So yes, 3 days outside. Awesome. Did I send a 12A or a 12B outside? No, I did not. I did try on one of the days. I got back on Big Money Grip, which was kind of like a little bit like my last real project from the spring season was this amazing 12B called Big Money Grip. And I got on it, but I did not send. In fact, I did not even get close to sending because the endurance and the power endurance had just waned so much at the end of the season when I was really focusing on sending Bulldog. But that's okay. I think I've got it teed up really well for the like early in the fall season. I got all the beta worked out and all of that, and so I just need to show up with some fitness and I'll put it down. Awesome route. And then the third goal was stick to the endurance plan, and I definitely did that. I have put a ton of emphasis on my training now that we're kind of getting into the summer season. So let's talk about things in more specificity if we've got a few minutes, which we do because we're only 5 minutes into this blog. So why don't we get specific? Well, like I mentioned, on my first goal, it's climb outside. And so I would say that the outdoor season is starting to wind to a close, if you will, but it's not there yet for sure. I mean, I kind of had thought that maybe we were past it because we had this incredible spring here in Kentucky. March and April were like the best March and Aprils that I remember ever. It was like wildly dry. We were in a drought, so like that was bad for other reasons, but for climbing, it was great because usually you can get really wet springs here in Kentucky, but it was super dry. The temperatures were really good. I sent Bulldog at the end of March, and then in April, got outside a handful of times and scoped out what I think will be the big fall project, which is Flower Power over in the Madness Cave of the Motherlode, like super long, steep overhung route, if you've heard me talk about it. So I got to do that and climb on some other fun routes and send some things, and mostly not send some things, but just have a ton of fun on rock. And then May, we just got hit with all the rain that we missed in March and April. I think it rained like 20 days in May or something like that. It's been very wet. We lost power for a day, like big storms came through. And so there was not a lot of outdoor climbing. In fact, I'm shocked, but delighted that I got my 3 days of outdoor climbing in. And the day that I just mentioned, where I was out with some friends and our daughters, we went to a couple shady areas. One is called the Unload, where there's some like really fun kind of moderates, if you will, like 5.7s to 5.11s, at least in the place where we were. We quote unquote warmed up on a couple of 5.11s. I just posted a video of it. I was wearing socks with my climbing shoes and shorts. I mean, it was full fashion was happening out there. But those 11s actually, there were 2 11As and they kicked my butt, but they were very fun climbs. And then we moved over to a shady area called Hole in the Wall, where there's a bunch of different like little mini walls. And I couldn't tell you the routes that we climbed because the naming scheme is so frustratingly redundant over there. Like the word hole is in every climb name. You know how like sometimes crags like have these themes, and I'm all about themed climbs at crags. There's the South Park was just around the corner where we kind of hiked around, and like all the climbs are a nod to the show South Park. Or as you all know, when I was working on the Force, that's at the Dark Side Crag, and not all, but many of the climbs there have some sort of Star Wars theme to them. In any case, hole in the wall, they just took it a little bit too far for me, and the word hole is in every, so it's like holy moly and hole in one, whole new world, a whole lot of bananas. It just, it's just too confusing, at least for my brain to understand. But it doesn't really matter what climbs they were or even what grades they were. We just had fun, and the goal going in was volume. We just wanted to try to get as many routes as we could. And usually for me at this point in time with my fitness, like 4 routes, and I'm pretty done. I'm pretty spent for the day. But I ended up getting in 6, and that was really good for me. And they were actually all quality. I think I probably could have done another 1 or 2 if we had had time to hang out, but the girls were getting restless, and it was a fun, long day of adventure. And what did I do that day? I did 3 11As and 3 11Cs. Although I didn't send the 11C was just one route. I sent it once and didn't send it twice. But when I popped like right up near the chain. So it's basically like I completed almost the entire route. And so 6 routes, kind of in that like 11 minus / mid 11 range, was really good for me. And most importantly, it was just really, really fun. Fun crew. Awesome to have the girls out there and climbing and swinging and just having so much fun, and just like all their imaginative play is so fun to just listen to. And then just get bricked, get a ton of fitness, and feel like that deep, sickening Red River Gorge pump was so fun, and really juxtaposed with where I was at this year, this time of year, a year ago. And I guess I'll talk about more of that in the little mental game chapter that I talk about here. But it's very different. Where I'm at right now, just with my relationship to climbing and my emotional state with climbing, is much, much different than it was last year. So I'll talk about that in just a second here. But what else? What else do I want to talk about? I guess let's just get into, because the other goals here have more to do with training than just being outdoors. So let's just get into training and how I've been training lately, and some of you all wrote in and asked questions about how I'm training specifically for endurance. So let's talk about that. Well, it's been interesting. I've kind of been pulled in a couple different directions, to be perfectly honest. And this is one of the issues of having a podcast and being able to talk to some of the smartest minds in climbing, is that there can be a little bit of an analysis paralysis that comes from getting great advice that maybe isn't conflicting, but has slightly different focuses. So as you all know, I did a conversation with Eric Hurst, Coach Eric Hurst, who's a good friend of mine and has also helped to coach me through a lot of my climbing journey over the last few years. And we were talking about my plans for wanting to build a lot of endurance with a focus towards cave season this fall. And so he had recommended at this point in time putting a lot of emphasis on more of the what he calls zone 2 endurance fitness. So lower level pump, maybe a 7 out of 10 on the RPE, and just paddling, doing like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off on the wall or on a tread wall for, 40 minutes or an hour, just getting that real base endurance going. He wanted to see me doing a couple days of that, and then maybe a day on the kilter board, and then a climbing day. Then I had a conversation with Tyler Nelson about critical force, and I took a critical force test using my force board, and I also did an endurance repeaters test using the assessments feature on the Intentional Climber app. And those results, unsurprisingly, pointed to a lack of fitness in the endurance category as well as the power endurance category. But when I showed Tyler my critical force test, and I'm doing an episode with him, this will be coming out in a couple of weeks, so you'll get more context in that. But critical force basically ultimately helps to show or indicate what level at which one can climb aerobically. Like basically, if I've got food in my stomach, what level can I climb just forever and be able to recover from? And the critical force test basically has you do max effort pulls. I was using a block, like a lifting edge that I was lifting up against the force gauge that I had anchored on a board at my feet. So if you can picture that, I was just like doing like ground lifts, if you will, but against a force gauge, and you do max effort pulls. It's a heinous, heinous test. I think it takes like 4 or 5 minutes, but you pull 7 seconds on, 3 seconds off, max effort every single pull. And what happens is your, if I understand it correctly, like your anaerobic systems basically deplete whatever glycogen they have or whatever kind of the energy reserves are very, very quickly. And then you get into the point at which you can just pull aerobically for quite a while. And so when Tyler looked at that curve, what he noticed was a very steep drop off. So I pulled kind of near my max on my first couple of pulls because I was fully, rested and recovered. But then after that, I wasn't able to recover very fast. And I went right into kind of like what my aerobic territory was, which isn't bad. He thought it was actually in a pretty good spot, which isn't a surprise because I'm a route climber and you don't lose it all, even though when like I did, I focused on bouldering for the better part of a year. I was still climbing routes. What he noticed, though, was that my power endurance was the most kind of underdeveloped of those energy systems. I was pulling pretty strong in terms of max strength. Not a surprise. I'm coming off of a strength and bouldering block. And I had a pretty good baseline endurance, which to him made sense because I'm predominantly a route climber. But where he felt I was really lacking, if you will, or the low-hanging fruit, was the power endurance. My ability to pull at like 80% of my max for a while. And I wasn't able to. I pulled like 1 or 2 at 80% of my max, and then I immediately dropped down into what was essentially an endurance phase. So he felt, in this conversation, I should put quite a bit of emphasis on power endurance. So that could be like 7-3 repeaters at 80%, or just climbing routes that are really hard for me, where I'm not like aerobically climbing. I'm climbing, maybe anywhere between 10 and 30 moves at, a high effort level, maybe up near my max or just a little bit underneath it. In any case, that made a lot of sense to me. So I was like, okay, let's program some more power endurance training along with the endurance training. And then, fortunately, I had a call with friend and coach Nate Drole and basically laid all this out. And he's going to be helping me to work on my technique and prepare me for what will be a Madness Cave season, or seasons as it likely will be, for me to become that kind of climber. And he understood and validated what both Eric and Tyler were saying, and is bringing a little bit more of a nuanced approach to my training, which I appreciate. But basically, we're going to lean a little bit more towards the Eric Hurst side of things this early in the summer, and then start to shift more towards the Tyler Nelson side of things as we get closer to the fall season. So putting most of my emphasis on endurance training with some emphasis on power endurance training. And so that was a long-winded way of just telling you where I'm at. And it was very helpful for me to do these assessments, by the way. So in the Intentional Climber app, there's a whole assessments tab, and you can do max hangs, you can do endurance test, and you can do some like just general fitness tests. And I like that I'm able to do that in there, because then it holds on to all of those results for me. And over time, it can plot some trends, like some results. And so I have all of my prior tests that I have just written down, like in my notebook, and I just manually put those in there so I can already see trend lines of where I'm at. And as noted, I'm the strongest I've ever been. So in terms of my max hangs, and I think I talked about this in the last plog, my like 2 rep weighted max pull-ups, I'm over 150%, which I haven't been ever. And so my strength is good, which is good for critical force. It means I've got a big engine, but I don't have a whole lot of gas in the engine. And so that's why I'm focusing on endurance and power endurance. And doing those tests was very enlightening. So now I know how and what to work on. And so what that looks like from a practical point of view is that I want to keep my strength up. I want to keep that engine big. So I'm doing 1 super hard kilter board session a week, which is also really freaking fun. So never hard for me to do that. In fact, I'm going to be doing that right after I record this. And I'm also, as a part of that, doing some max hangs. And I'm either doing, I've programmed 753 repeaters in Intentional Climber. It's already in there. It's just part of the library. But anyway, that's 7 seconds on and 53 seconds off. So it's not quite, it's like falls right in the middle of not quite pure max strength. It's like got a little bit of a power endurance element to it, but I think that's nice for where I'm at right now. So I'm doing those in half crimp, in open hand, and in 3-finger drag. And I'm just doing 3 of each. So 3 reps of the half crimp, 3 reps of the open hand, and 3 reps of the 3-finger drag, because it's basically the last part of my warm-up before I'll do a kilter board session. So anyway, I'm doing that, and that's taking some finger strength stuff there. And then I'll do a really hard kilter board session where right now I'm very close. I think I'm very close. We'll see. It's one of my goals, is to send a V8 on my kilter full ride. I've sent a handful of V7s. Obviously did the V8 outdoors, but I haven't done a V8 yet on my board, and I really freaking want to. It's like bothering me that I haven't. So it works out that I want to do a max effort climbing session, like projecting session each week to keep this strength and power up, because I can work on these V8s. So working on V8s, I also just set a problem that I posted on the board account that I'm calling V6. It might be hard V6. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if other people repeat it and what they think of it. But anyway, setting problems on the board is also a really fun way to work max power and max strength, as well as just kind of technique and all of that, because it's fun to just figure out moves that'll be novel and interesting. And the one that I just set was heinous. I basically set what I thought was probably a V4 or a V5, and then I just started taking feet options away. And it got to the point where then almost the entire climb pivoted around one left foot and like all these weird, kind of awkward, lurchy, throwy moves off of this perched left foot. You have to see the video. Anyway, go see the video. It's actually pretty awkward when you first try the climb, and then you start to figure out how to work around that left foot. And I thought it was pretty cool. Okay, where was I? Let's not make this like a 7-hour podcast. You know what? You guys want some ASMR? I'm going to open up I got this at Costco. What's it called? Slate Mocha Latte High Protein Iced Coffee. 14 grams of protein, and then it's got a bunch of caffeine in it. How much caffeine does it say? 1.5 cups of coffee, 125 milligrams of caffeine. Holy shit. This is why my hair tingles after I drink these. But I'm getting ready for the max effort kilter board session, so I'm going to need some caffeine and some protein. Okay, here's the ASMR. It's my commercial for Slate. Is Slate the brand? I got it at Costco, but yeah, I guess Slate is the company that makes these. Anyway, no affiliation. But I just want to get a little protein and a little bit of caffeine so I can go rage on the board in a few minutes. Let's be honest, it's not going to be a few minutes. I'm going to talk for probably another half hour here. But that's good. Then everything will be kicking in nicely. Maybe I won't be as tweaky. You know, when the caffeine first hits, I just get like a little bit tweaky. Does that happen to you? Where was I? Oh, so then the rest of my training. Okay, so it's the one kilter board, and then I do 1 day of hard route climbing. So that's power endurance. And that's mostly going to be in the gym now. We've got a great cave at Rock Sport Climbing Gym, which is my local climbing gym that I love. And there's an amazing cave there. The setting there is incredible these days. A lot of the crew that I climb with, in fact, is setting over there. And so really good hard routes in the cave that still make me scared. And you got a clip, and like I get scared of falling. So it's good to work through the mental side of the climbing, but also there's just nothing that could prepare me better for climbing steep stuff at the Red than climbing steep stuff inside. I mean, if I can't get outside, climbing in that cave is just awesome. And so my plan is to do 1 day a week of that, hopefully with a stoked crew, and then, or get outside. So I did that. Actually, I got in 2 this last week. I climbed 1 day in the gym and then 1 day outside, both hard kind of power endurance type climbing. And so minimum of at least 1 day of that, maybe 2 if I'm feeling fresh. And then I'm going to do 2 endurance training sessions a week, which I have been sticking with. And that's like very important for me. When I've got it staring at me in the face on the app, like there's these rings, and if the ring is hollow, you haven't done the workout. And if the ring is filled, you've done it. And so if I get to the end of the week and I've got hollow rings like staring at me on my training calendar, I close those out. Like it really annoys me if I haven't done it. So it's a good way to keep me accountable and motivated is the judgment that the app gives me with those hollow rings. In any case, I program one climbing endurance training session, like zone 2 session a week, and one hangboard repeater session, because that's easier to fit in. For the climbing one, I've been doing 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off on the tread wall at the gym. I still haven't gotten my tread wall operational. As you all know, I found a tread wall on Marketplace over a year ago, and it's been sitting in pieces in my garage because I sanded and repainted the slats, and then I painted the frame. And then I ultimately set this goal to climb Bulldog. And so I made a deal with myself where I couldn't put the tread wall together until I had sent, because I knew that I would just get like psyched and want to just climb on the tread wall forever. So I sent Bulldog, which is great. And I was like, okay, let's put the tread wall together. And it's almost there. I had a couple friends come over to help put it together. My friend Ryan and my friend Mitch, shout out. Thank you guys for your help. It is nearly there. The slats need to go on, and then we need to do a little setting party. My buddy Tom from Mana Climbing Holds is making a whole series of wooden holds for me so I can protect my skin when I'm climbing on that. And then I'm going to be putting some other holds on too, just like some regular resin holds. Anyway, I'm going to be setting routes on that, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I've been doing the 2 on 2 off at the gym, sometimes on the tread wall there, and sometimes just on an auto belay. Like if I go there with my daughter, I'll belay her on some things, and then she'll get on an auto belay and I'll get on one, and I'll just kind of do my 2 on 2 off there. And then the repeaters that I'm doing are at 50% of my max pull. I'm usually doing these with my force board. And then I'm just doing overcoming isometrics. So like I'm curling my fingers into my flashboard and like pulling at 50% of whatever my max was that day. And then I'm doing like 6 seconds on, 2 seconds off, or 7 on, 3 off. It's not exact, but I basically just do that until I can't hit my target. So if my target is 85 pounds or whatever, just for example, then I'm curling in and releasing. As long as I can hit that 85 pounds, I just go. And then I make a note of that. So I think on the most recent one I did, I don't have that workout opened, but it was something like I did 22 until I couldn't hit it. And then I take a break. I took like a 3-minute break, and then I did 18, and then I did 15 or something like that. And then over time, I'm going to see that repeat or improve as I repeat that workout. So that's my kind of climber focused training. One hard climbing day that includes max hangs, one a kilter board, I mean like bouldering day, 1 or 2 hard route climbing days, and then 2 of the quote unquote zone 2 endurance days. It sounds like a lot, but actually a couple of those things are only like 15-minute exercises. Like those endurance repeaters I was just talking about only takes 15 minutes, and then it's done. And it's not like hard to recover from because it's zone 2. So it's very chill. So I could do that on the same day as I do a hard bouldering day, for example, like at night, and it's totally fine. So I just find a way to make it work within my work schedule and the kid schedule and all that stuff. And then the other training stuff that I'm doing is minimum one weightlifting day. I've been aiming for 2, but I haven't always gotten 2 in. Sometimes it's like 1 every 5 days I've been doing it. So that's not quite 2 a week. It's like 1.5 a week, I guess, if you average it out over the month. But anyway, just like the normal weight training stuff, like conditioning stuff. So deadlifts, incline bench press or shoulder press, weighted pull-ups or rows, some core stuff, just like normal conditioning stuff, just to feel good and stay healthy as a person. And then, guys, I've been running. I think I talked about this on the last Plog where I had just started running and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stick with this. I kind of hate it. Now, I still kind of hate it, but I also kind of like it. Running is insidious like that. It kind of like sucks you in. That sweet siren song of that little rush of dopamine or happiness you get at certain points of a run, like somehow makes me just stoked enough to do it that I forget how painful my calves were for like the 3 days after a run. I'm hoping that'll go away. I've never really run that much where I've not been sore, like really, really sore. The DOMs that I get in my calves, especially, that's really the only place that I've been getting the muscle soreness is in my calves. It's really intense. And like not even the next day. I mean, the next day is I feel it, but then it's the second day after I run the calves are like, I'm like hobbling. I'm hoping that'll go away though. If anybody has any tips on that, let me know. But basically what I've been doing for my running, because I'm not much of a runner and I don't have a whole lot of like running cardio base, if you will, is I've been doing 4 minutes of running and then 1 minute of brisk walking. So just kind of like that type of intervals. So like 4 on, 1 off, but like the 1 off is I'm still keeping a pretty brisk pace, but it's walking rather than running. And I started that with doing 3 sets of that. And then I'm now at 4 sets. So that's 20 minutes of activity. And I put a note in my journal to the next time I do it, which is going to be tomorrow, to add a 5th. And so I think I'm just going to keep going at that. This is not based on anything. If somebody knows running and you think I'm doing this stupid, just let me know. But it's only based on, I didn't want to run for 20 minutes straight. So I just kind of do those intervals. And I'm liking it. It just allows me to just like not be redlined the whole time, if you will. And it allows me to take the activity longer. So I'm enjoying that. Most of the ones I've done have just been on my neighborhood streets, but also I've done a couple on trails, and they're much more enjoyable on trails, just being in nature and all that, of course. But I don't have immediate access to trails. Although, as I get fitter and can keep adding sets, I will be able to add trail running, because about a mile from my house, or a mile and a half, if you will, close enough, are trails. And so I could run from my house to the trails, then run on the trails, and then run back. But I'm not quite there yet. Just need to add a bit more distance. I think the last one I did was 20 minutes and I got like 1.7 miles. So as I get a little bit more into this training, I'll get there. But I've been doing that 1 day a week. And ideally, if I can get this calf soreness to abate, I think I'd like to do it 2 days a week. I'm kind of enjoying it. It's just something I can do. It's the one thing I feel like I can do before the house wakes up. You know, like I usually wake up before everybody. I take care of the dogs, and then the kids wake up, and then, you know, we get them going for the day and all of that. My wife likes to sleep in as well. It's summertime. And so she's a night owl. She's a writer. And so she writes a lot at night, and then she likes to sleep in. I'm a morning owl. What's the morning? I'm a morning rooster. Is there an equivalent to night owl? What's the opposite, the photonegative to night owl? Early bird. Early bird? Yeah. Jesus. I need more caffeine. Hold on a second. Protein caffeine. Okay, I'm an early bird. What did I call it before? Morning chicken? No, morning rooster. Oh, that's so stupid. I'm going to stick with it. All right, anyway, I'm a morning rooster. And guys, I'm losing it. I'm losing it over here. 30 minutes into the Plog. Are we ever going to make it through this? We're going to do it. We're going to do it. For the 15 of you that are still listening, we're going to make it. Okay. I like to run. I guess that was my point. My point is I don't feel like I can wake up early and lift hard weights or do like a hangboarding session or a kilter session. Like I just kind of need to wake up a little bit and eat some food and have some caffeine. But I can wake up and just do this jogging, because it's, I don't know, it's just like low enough effort and just kind of meditative enough where the birds are singing and the sun is rising. It just feels nice to be out there. So I'm going to try to do that 2 days a week. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, that's the training. Let me see if I'm missing anything from this. Nope, I didn't. That covers training. If you have any questions, let me know, or any ideas. All you runners out there are just like rolling your eyes at me. I'm such a noob runner. I like it though. It's also cooler in the morning. Running later in the day it's starting to get pretty hot and humid here in Kentucky. Okay, let's move on to nutrition. Nutrition has been fine. Steady state on the nutrition. We grilled out some Beyond burgers yesterday that were muy delicioso, and also some Beyond brats. This is not a commercial for Beyond, but it just happened to be what we picked up from Kroger. And super high protein. I love the fake meats. What else? Anything else that I've been incorporating into the diet? I don't think so. Oh, the one thing that I might start to feather back into the supplement routine is the beta-alanine. So beta-alanine is really cheap as a supplement and has got a ton of great science behind it and studies that show that it boosts endurance. And so I'm just kind of wondering when I'll bring that in. Like, should I bring it in closer to when I want to perform so I kind of start to feel the boost, or do I bring it in now so I can have better endurance in my training and thus get more high quality training sessions. I think I could just kind of answered my questions. I think I'll start back with the beta-alanine. I also take Syndurex by PhysiVantage because that's like the beetroot and citrulline malate extracts, and those are also proven in an acute way to increase capacity and hasten recovery. So in acute way, I mean like you take it 30 minutes before the workout, and during that workout, you will have better capacity and faster recovery. So that kind of works. Like if I'm going to go outside climbing, I take it and it's going to benefit my outdoor climbing. Whereas beta-alanine requires more of a systemic, like foundation, if you will. Like you have to load it and then keep it going. It's not just like you take it right before a session and it improves that session. I think it takes like a handful of weeks and now it's in the system and it has its benefit. It's really cheap. So yeah, I'll probably start back up on the beta-alanine. That's a weird feeling. I think if you remember me talking about it last year, it makes like your skin kind of feel a little weird. It makes the hair tingle, not in like a caffeine way, but in a very specific beta-alanine way. So I break it up into little doses over the course of the day, especially when I'm loading it or when I'm reintroducing it. But then after it's in the system for a while, I can just take like a scoop in the morning and a scoop at night. I forgot what the dosage is, but if you just like start with a big dose, get ready. It's going to make you feel weird. Sometimes in a cool way and sometimes in a not, I don't like it way. So I'm just going to play it safe. I'll just start to kind of lightly reintroduce it into the system. So that's on the nutrition side. Somebody wrote in a question about some nutrition things, so I'll get to that at the end here, I think. But let's move on to technique and tactics. Tactically speaking, not much to share except just like when I'm climbing outside, I'm really trying to focus on things that I don't intuitively do well. So heel hooks was a reminder that I got, on the Intentional Climber app. When you finish a session, it says what went well and what do you want to work on next time. And then whatever you put in the section that says what do you want to work on next time, when you start the next session of that category. So like if it's a board session or a weightlifting or outdoor climbing or whatever, those are kind of siloed into their things. But then you get reminded what that was. So when I went outside a couple days ago with my friends and our daughters, I opened up my app to start logging my session and, keeping track of my routes and all that. And it reminded me that I wanted to work on heel hooks. And so when I was climbing these warm-up routes, if you will, and just kind of throughout the day, I was throwing heel hooks left and right, heel hooks that I probably I definitely didn't need to be throwing. But in doing that, it helped me to learn better what heels are good and what heels are not good. And this is just right on the heels of me, right on the heels, pun not intended, but let's frickin' go for that. Love a good pun. On the heels of my video that I did about heel hooks with Nate Drolet, which if you haven't seen it, it's over on the Ryan Devlin Climbing channel. So it's just like at YouTube, at Ryan Devlin Climbing. There's a great, I have to say, like it's a great video. I can take no credit for it. It's all Nate. But I think that whether you think you're good at heels or you're not good at heels, watch that video and you're going to learn something. I absolutely guarantee it. And anyway, I learned a lot doing that session with Nate on heels and how to make different heels work in different scenarios. And now as I try those, like I tried these when I was out at the Red with our daughters, it was really cool. It was really cool for me to discover certain positions that could take a ton of weight off of my fingers. So that was nice. Oh, and by the way, along those lines, this is the other note that I have down here. I think I'm not as good of a climber as I thought I was. It's like the Dunning-Kruger. Is that the Dunning-Kruger effect? Like the more you know something, the more you learn about something, the less you know, like, or the more you realize you don't know anything. I just butchered that, but I think you guys understand the concept of it. But basically, like the longer I climb, the more I realize how much I need to get better at climbing. And this came from a bit of a conversation that I had with Eric Hurst as well about energy leaks. So in that endurance-focused episode we did, he said, look, before you get better endurance, before you build better endurance, like plug the holes in the leaky bucket, figure out where you're leaking energy. And this came into incredible relief with it, like stark smack me in the face relief when I was on the tread wall the other day doing the 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off zone 2 climbing. It's not hard climbing. right? So I can climb poorly and still do it. But I very intentionally said to myself, okay, let's find ways to make this climbing feel super easy. And one of the things I realized, you guys, I want you to try this yourself, just the next time you go to the gym or you get on a route or whatever, is I realized that I was initiating almost every climbing move by pulling with my arms rather than pushing with my feet. I would ultimately push with my feet, but I was noticing, and this was not a very steep wall. I had it set at an angle of 5 degrees overhung because, again, I need to go 2 minutes on at only a pump level of 7. So it wasn't like super steep, but I can imagine that this would be even more kind of acute, if you will, more potent at a steeper angle. But at 5 degrees overhung, I was initiating every move at first, when I wasn't thinking about it, by pulling with my arms. I would kind of pull my body in and then start to push with my toes to get to the next hold, which is understandable. Like you want to kind of create like a little bit of a flow, like a sag and pull, and then kind of dead point type flow to climbing, kind of the orangutan style. However, when I became aware of that and I said to myself, actually, let's initiate every single move with a push instead, a push from my toes. Then I would start the move by pushing and then pull in with my arms and go to the next thing. And so I was still pulling. I obviously still had to pull because I was overhung and I needed to like bring myself closer to the wall. But just that little switch, you guys, the little switch of starting the move with a push rather than a pull, just inversing it, kind of what I was doing, made a profound impact on how fatigued my fingers felt at the end of that 2 minutes. And so what I recognized is that there's a lot of opportunity for me to just become a more efficient climber and also become a more fit climber. And so anyway, that's take it or leave it. But I think it could be a fun example for you to go out and just try, whether you're doing boulder 4x4s or warming up, doing arc training on a rope, on a wall, whatever you're doing. Like just think about initiating every move with the feet rather than the arms. I'm saying the most basic rudimentary stuff here. And so maybe I'm embarrassing myself. Maybe all of you are sitting there rolling your eyes right now and you're like, wait a minute. Yes, of course, Ryan, we initiate our moves with our feet. But for me, it's not intuitive yet. I think there's going to be some drills in my future where I really try to ingrain that feeling. So I don't have to think about it, but that I'm just intuitively using my feet in a much more effective and efficient way. And that is going to make me a much more effective and efficient climber. So I'm excited about that. I love finding things that I suck at this point in time right now, especially as the summer's upon us, because that just means there's a huge opportunity for me to pick some low-hanging fruit and probably make a significant improvement, maybe a quantum leap improvement in how I climb without having to spend 3 months getting a little bit stronger or a little bit fitter, which I will be working on and I am working on, but I love that. And that's one of the things I'm going to be working with Nate Drolet on, by the way. So Nate's going to be, I'm going to be working with him as a coach over this summer and into the fall as I prepare for these steep routes at the Red. And I don't think I'm going to need a lot of help programming my training. I actually think I do a pretty good job, and especially with the Intentional Climber app, like I'm finding much better ways of structuring my training so I can get it all in. But what I think I will benefit from is having somebody say, like, go do this drill that sounds silly, but do it, like the one-legged climbing drill Nate has already mentioned to me, so I can generate momentum through, using my hips or finding other ways. Anyway, I think I'm going to be doing a lot of drills this summer, drills that Nate suggests to me or programs for me, or drills that I just find and others maybe I see other people do and I program for myself. I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about becoming a better climber, not just a fitter climber. So that's that. And then the only other thing that I'll talk about here is that I'm keeping my kilter board really steep. So 50 degrees is the shallowest that I'm going to climb on my kilter board this summer. But I can take it up to 60. And so I think probably in that 50 to 55 degree range is where I'll do a lot. I haven't climbed anything at 60 yet, but we'll see. But that's because the cave gets really steep on this route on Flower Power that I want to do. I don't know the exact angle. I've asked some people and they kind of put it between 45 and 55 degrees. So we'll see. Maybe one day I'll measure it. But in any case, I've got the board set at 50 right now, and I'll probably start taking it steeper because I want to learn how to climb better. Again, this gets back into technique, more efficiently at those steep angles. So finding ways to be better with toeing in, drop kneeing, keeping my arms a little bit straighter and using my shoulders and my lat muscles to kind of swim up the wall, if you will, rather than like locking off with my biceps. There's a lot of, when I've watched my friends Kyle and Gray work on, they're working on a really hard route in the Madness Cave right now. And when I watch them climb it, and then I watch myself climb when I was up and not on the same route, but kind of doing easier versions of the moves they were doing, I just noticed that I'm climbing it like somebody who doesn't know how to climb and be efficient in that steep terrain. And so I'm hoping as I get into more steeper kilter sessions and then ultimately doing circuits on my kilter board, that I will improve in my technique on that. And that's probably something that I'll work with Nate Drolet on as well. I'll probably do some like video coaching sessions with him where he can specifically coach me on how to get better positioning for that style of climbing. It's very foreign to me right now. And I like that. Pushing myself out of my comfort zone, learning new tricks and tactics and techniques and all that's really cool for me. Okay, mental game chapter, and then we'll kind of start to wrap this thing up. This has been fun. I should have another sip of caffeine because I'm going to go climb in a second. Delicious caffeine. Mental game. Well, not to like belabor the point of intentional climber here, but I might as well because I freaking love it. There's a whole mindset hub in there, and Hazel Finlay, what a national treasure she is, she has contributed a handful of guided meditations, and I have been using them and freaking loving them, okay? There's two, there's a bunch in there, but the two that are my favorites that I find myself using the most is one is a really short one, 2 minutes long, to get focused before a training or climbing session. And I really like that because there's just a lot of distractions in my life right now. We're into summer vacation. The kids are home or just like at camps, and work has been a little bit crazy. We've got some travel coming up. And so my mind has been pretty busy. Like it's just like been a lot of monkey mind going on right now with me, just ruminating over all the stresses and things of life and things I have to do. And so there's this meditation that Hazel put in there that's only 2 minutes. And I do it right. Like if I'm at the gym, I'll sit in my car and I'll listen to it before I go in. Or if I have my earbuds, then I'll even listen to it at the gym or at home. And it's 2 minutes to just kind of give myself permission to put all the other life stuff aside for however long I'm going to train. Maybe it's 1 hour or whatever, and just be like, okay, I'm here with a purpose and I'm going to put this stuff aside and I'm going to focus on what I'm here to do. And Hazel just did a wonderful job with that meditation. So I've been listening to that, not every session, but before most of my sessions. And it's really just helped me get into that right mental space to then go try hard and also have fun, like be present with my training, not just go through the motions. And then the other one is a little bit longer. I think it's 9 minutes, but it's a gratitude meditation and I love it. I know 9 minutes, I don't know, does 9 minutes sound like a long time or a short time to you? It's a little, because it depends on where you're at, how your day is going. But 9 minutes feels longer to me, certainly than just like the 2 minute meditation. But I've been doing that one maybe once or twice a week. There's other ones in there as well that I dabble in, like the body scan and stuff. But the gratitude one has brought so much lightness and joy to my life. I love it. It makes me feel lighter when I'm climbing, which is cool. But it's more about just a life thing. It just has made me happier. And I've got an episode coming out with Noah Wheeler in just a couple days. And he talked a lot about this. In fact, he's been reading a book called The Happiness Advantage, and just the benefit of feeling happier, feeling more optimistic, and how that translates to better climbing and just being happier in life in general has been really profound for him and also for me. So anyway, those are the meditations I've been listening to. Those are free in the Intentional Climber app. There's a whole reflection tab and there's all the mindfulness stuff from Hazel, but then there's other tools and resources in there as well. So that's been helping. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about, I touched on this earlier, was just reflecting on where I'm at, just kind of in my mindset and my emotional state this year compared to this time last year. And I'm aware of this because I've got my 5-year training and performance journal, the reflective journal. So like I now am able to see what I wrote on this date 2 years prior, or 3 years or 4 years. I've been keeping these things for years. But anyway, I noticed that just a few days ago on this date last year, I had like the worst outdoor climbing session I've ever had. And I was so over it, you guys. I went out with some friends. It was a hot, humid day. It wasn't like conditions, but I went out with like the hope and maybe even the expectation, the intention and the expectation of flashing a 12A. Because I think at that point I hadn't. Remember, that was like a goal of mine. I have since done a couple, but there was a 12A called Crumblies that I wanted to go out and try and flash. And you guys, I 3-hung it and I didn't make it to the chains. It was like, what? I just freaking epicked on it. And I performed so badly, and I also just didn't have any fun that day, probably because I had expectations that fell far short of the reality. And that's always where like a lot of discomfort comes from, is when like reality falls short of your expectations. And anyway, I left. I like hiked out of there and I was like, I'm done. I kind of like, it was, I don't know, I felt like a kid on a playground basketball court being like, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. I was just so petulant about it. I was like, forget this, forget climbing. I hate it. And then I just went into an indoor training block, which was fine. I think that's what I needed at that time. I needed to just maybe move indoors. But this year, while I am moving mostly indoors now and very excited about the training that I'm doing and the climbing that I'm doing indoors, I'm also just finding myself to be in a much better position with the outdoor climbing, like going out a couple days ago with the girls and just saying, hey, let's just climb some 10s and 11s and get a fitness day in, send or no send. Like, let's just move over rock as much as we can. And I worked on heel hooks and I took whips and we laughed and drank a beer at the end of the day. And I'm just so happy to be in that place. And I think it's because I've been doing a lot of this work with my reflecting and journaling. Maybe the Hazel meditations have been helping. I'm not quite sure, but whatever it is, I'm just in a better place right now to enjoy my climbing, separated from, if you will, like performance. And maybe that's just a benefit because I sent the boulder and I'm still like riding high on achieving my big spring goal. I didn't achieve all my spring goals. I didn't send big money grip, as I noted earlier, but I ticked the big thing. And I also, in the fall season, climbed 12 A, B, C, and D, which I had never done. So just like kind of reflecting back on the year, if you will, or the last couple seasons, if it's not really a calendar year, but I achieved a lot on the kind of the grade side. And so maybe that has alleviated any pressures for me now, and I can just go out and have fun. Whatever the case may be, I'm feeling happy about where I'm at with my performance climbing, quote unquote performance climbing, now as I get into a much more just like head down, let's grind. And I get a lot of joy out of that as well. Just kind of the training and seeing where my gains are coming and all of that. So yeah, feeling good about the outdoor climbing. And so let's get into goals. I'm going to open up the app here. You can set monthly, weekly, yearly goals. And so my monthly goals for June are 2 days outside. I always try to set myself a days outside goal with no expectation on them. Am I going to try to send things or not or whatever? It's just like, get outside. So 2 days, and I'm only setting 2 days outside because we're going to be doing some traveling and also it's getting pretty hot. So I want it to be like a realistic outdoor goal. 2 days outside. I want to complete my first home treadwall session. So that goal is more about like, hey, Ryan, get this thing built. Than anything else. But hopefully in June, I will complete my first treadwall session at home. And then I want to send a Kilter V8. You guys heard me talk about that earlier. I've been hunting down this V8. I've been a lion in the savannah, crouched low, eyeing my Ibex, my V8 Ibex, and I am going to take that thing down. Now I don't want to. Now it's making me sad to think about killing an Ibex. I'm not going to kill an Ibex. I'm going to kill a Kilter V8. Hopefully after I record this thing, after I push send on this podcast, I already checked my notes on Intentional Climber for what my Kilter board session notes were, like what my intentions were for the session. And it is get a good warm up and then open up the V8 project and give it hell. So I'm going to try that. Stay tuned to see if I see it. Those are my goals. And so now let me just open up. There's a handful of questions that were sent in. We're closing in on an hour here, guys. And so I'm not going to let this run too long. But I also don't think there were a ton of questions. So Let me see what you all said for questions for me for the Plog. I'm opening it right now. Sorry about the dead air, but I'm like scrolling down. Here we are. Questions for the Plog. Okay. Just going to read these in order. Sorry, it's taken me a while. Maxwell says, feedback on how the endurance training's been going. What tweaks have you made in the past few weeks? I put together a very similar regimen based on your talk with Eric. Any chance of getting Coach Eric regimen on the Intentional Climber app? That would be super rad. I'm also training for some Madness Cave Pump. Would love to link up. Dude, let's go, Maxwell. All right. Yes to all of that. Let me go through it line by line here. Any tweaks to the endurance training? Well, as you heard, I kind of was doing what Eric said. Then I started swinging a little bit more into the power endurance side after the conversation with Tyler. And now I'm kind of back into what I was originally doing based on my Eric conversation, but I'm building out more power endurance training for later this summer. So the tweaks will come, but I guess to answer your question, no, I'm kind of sticking with what I had laid out, which I also already laid out in detail earlier on. So hopefully that answered your question. Any chance of getting Eric to have an endurance regimen on Intentional Climber? That is an awesome question. And the answer is yes, actually. Eric and I have been going back and forth about it. He's building it out right now. And so I would expect an Eric Hurst endurance climber plan in Intentional Climber probably in the next month. I'm going to set that goal for myself and Eric. And then, so yeah, stay tuned. But we've got some other plans in there right now that are either available or about to become available. So you can play around with those in the meantime. But yeah, I think Eric's going to have an endurance one in there very soon. And then Madness Cave Pump, let's link up. Yes, let's link up. Send me a message. Let's get out there. Then Dominic said, he commented on that comment, +1 to this, especially since you just mentioned that after the critical force test and talking to Tyler, it looks like you had to rejig your training. Okay, so yeah, hopefully that answers the question. I have added a little bit more power endurance emphasis in, whether it's through climbing or doing the 80% 7-3 repeaters, but I'm still leaning heavily into base endurance right now. And then that will switch as we get closer to the fall. So probably like August, mid-August to like the end of September, I'll be getting more into the power endurance training. But I'm going to do another conversation with Tyler Nelson on that. And so we're going to retest my critical force after I train things for the next 6 weeks here. And we're going to see where that stands. So stay tuned. Maybe we'll adjust it again. It's always a fun little experiment to kind of just twist these dials up and down and see what happens. Doug said, what's up, Doug? Doug was a cohort member, but also a former weekend warrior, Doug Hartman. I'd be curious to hear if you're doing anything to maintain the gains you had during your strength phase while you try to build endurance. Personally, as I've transitioned away from the strength to focus on endurance, I've noticed my strength on the moonboard has taken an unfortunate dive. So personally, I'm curious if you have any tips to keep from losing strength while you increase volume endurance. Well, I think the answer actually is that you're just going to lose some of it. And that's okay, because we can't focus on all the things all the time. Now, Doug, I happen to personally know, because you were in the strength cohort with us, that you are a freaking monster on the moonboard. Doug, for those listening, Doug went from V4 to V7 on the moonboard, or did you do a V8, or you flashed a V7? I'm blanking right now, but Doug made a quantum leap in the strength cohort where we all just put an emphasis on building strength and whatever that meant to us. So, you know, I mean, what you water grows. So you were focusing a lot on strength and power in that and making massive gains. You have some to lose if you're going to focus on endurance, because now you've made a really big engine and you're going to focus on filling that engine with a bunch of endurance gas. That said, and I'm not saying anything that you don't know here already, Dr. Doug, but every coach that I've talked to has said 1 session per week will maintain. And so that's why I'm programming that 1 hard kilter session a week, plus it's fun. That should maintain. You're not going to gain, likely, 1 hard session a week, and you probably won't lose. Maybe you'll lose a little bit. It depends on how much focus you're putting on endurance. But if you get that 1 session in, you're probably going to keep it pretty much where it is. And then if you pull that session out and you only go full endurance, obviously the top end is going to drop down. But it depends on what your objectives are. If you're going to go climb like a bunch of really long kind of quote unquote moderates in the valley, then maybe you don't need that moonboard strength right now. It'll come back quick when you focus on it again. And then Travis, this is the last one. Travis says, Not a climbing question, but a pastry question. Let's go, Travis. You had me at pastry. Jerry Maguire reference. What are your top 3 favorite pastries and why? This was submitted by Hannah, Travis's wife, who's a fellow baked goods lover and climber. Hannah or Hannah, you are my new best friend. So I think I've talked about this before with you guys, but there is a local bakery here in Louisville that makes what's called a cruffin. And that is a mix between a croissant and a muffin that is filled with an insane combination of like pastry filling flavors. I think it was inspired by the cronut in New York, which I have had the original cronut. I was there in November for the Macy's parade with the family, and I had a cronut, and it did not disappoint. That is a donut-shaped croissant. I mean, you almost can't do better than that for me because I love donuts and I love croissants. But the cruffin might be an improvement on the cronut because given the shape of a muffin, which is kind of like a mushroom shape, there's a lot of real estate there to fill with fillings. And the cruffins are nuts. She makes the craziest, most incredible combinations of flavors that I've ever experienced. It's like transcendent, some of these cruffins. Not all of them are smash hits, because everybody has different tastes, but the cruffin is where it's at. My favorite one recently was a banana cream pie cruffin, where it was like she had like a banana meringue on the top of the cruffin that she then toasted with like a blowtorch. And then the inside was a cream, like a banana cream filling with some other kind of like bougie accent, like sub flavor ingredient profiles. Oh God, this is so good, you guys. I digress. I also just like gas station donuts too. And I love nutty bars, and I don't know. You guys know, I've got an issue with sweets and especially pastries. She said top 3. Hannah said top 3. So cruffin, donuts, and I really like the yeasty donuts, the ones that are more fluffy, that are more air. I mean, I haven't met a donut I don't like, so I also like the dense ones, like the more old-fashioned ones, or like a bear claw, but I really like the fluffy donuts, like you would get at Krispy Kreme. But we've got a local bakery here called King Donuts where they make nice yeasty fluffy donuts that have a good glaze on them. So that would be number 2. And then number 3, favorite pastries and why. That's a tough one. Like the third slot, I mean, look, I'm just going to go as gross as you could possibly get right now. Pop-Tarts, okay? I've been crushing. If you put protein on any package, I will buy it, okay? I am your key audience. And so Pop-Tarts came out with protein Pop-Tarts that have 5 grams of protein in them. God, I'm sure they're just absolutely terrible. I haven't looked at any of the other nutritionals on them, but I just love Pop-Tarts. They got the frosting on the top. I like the strawberry ones and the blueberry ones. I don't like the chocolate ones that much, but I get those. I put them in the toaster on level 1. They get a little warm, and I'm getting some carbs, some sugar, and some protein, and I can go rage on the kilter board. So I'll put that one in there. I don't know if that's truly number 3, but I have been crushing a lot of protein Pop-Tarts lately, so there you have it. Okay, guys, that I think will wrap it up. I think we're coming up on an hour here. I love that you stuck with me through this, and I'm really grateful for all of your support. Remember, if you want to try out Intentional Climber, you can use code LAUNCHCREW, and that's going to get you a discount. I think it takes it down to like $7.99 a month. Plus, you'll get 2 of those unlocked coach programs. So the 12-week program from Colin McGee called Complete Climber, that's like a full body training program. And then also a program from Chris Hampton called Stronger Fingers. And that's made for like time-strapped climbers to just get stronger fingers in 6 to 8 weeks. And both of those will be unlocked if you use code LAUNCHCREW, and you'll get the discount and you'll be locked in for life at that rate. And if I'm only keeping that going until my birthday. So my birthday is June 5th. And so that's kind of a secret way to try it out. You get 2 weeks for free if you just want to try it out. But you can go ahead and sign up. You can get the whole year for $59. So I think that comes out to like less than $5 a month, right? Yeah. Less than $5 a month if you just do the annual membership. And it supports me. So it helps me to keep this thing going, and Jeff as well, fellow Patreon member. And we've been working really hard on it. And so it's only going to improve as I get more coaches involved, more athletes involved, and feedback from you. It's only going to get better and better and better. So yeah, check that out. Use code LAUNCHCREW when you sign up, and you'll get that discount. And was there anything else that I talked about on this? No, just my protein coffee. Okay, I'm going to finish my protein coffee. I'm going to go rage on the kilter board. I'm going to escape for a few days for a little anniversary/birthday getaway. My anniversary is June 3rd, 17 years. Let's go. And then my birthday is June 5th, 47 years. Let's go. 47 sounds older to me than 46. And while it is empirically older, it sounds more than 1 year older. I feel like when you hear 46, you're like, oh yeah, mid 40s. 47, is 47 officially late 40s or is that still mid 40s? Somebody let me know. Can I still say I'm in my mid 40s? Doesn't really matter. I feel amazing. I am without question in the best shape of my life ever. Like when I played organized sports, like I played hockey and lacrosse when I was in high school and college, and when I was an actor out in Los Angeles, and I would like worked with personal trainers, and you have to like kind of look your best and all that. Those don't even come close to how physically, mentally, and emotionally fit I am right now. And that's not to say that I'm anywhere near my peak. I don't think I am. I think there's low-hanging fruit on all of these. I just climbed the hardest thing I've ever climbed. And God knows there is a lot of opportunity on the mental side for me to get better. But I share that with you not because I don't want it to come off as like I feel like I've got all my shit together, because I certainly don't. But I guess I share that with you that whatever age you are, if you're in your 20s or 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, like there's just opportunity. I feel really grateful and optimistic about where I'm at with my physical and mental health. And I think it's just only going to keep getting better and better. And so I will leave you on that. I love you. Have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you soon.